Okay, good afternoon, everybody. This is episode number 39 of the Sports Consiglieres Podcast. I'm your host, Jim Whalen. Along with me is my co-host Jerry. Jerry, how you doing, bud?
What's up, Jimmy? How are you?
Our next guest hails from Plainfield, uh, who ironically just won the Union County Championship. I'm wearing my Rosal Catholic jersey. So Jerry's always critiques my outfit, so I had to represent. So um, our next guest hails from Plainfield. He's currently has two sons in the top 10 in NCAA basketball. CJ, who plays for Texas A&M, and Simeon, who plays for St. John's. He's also a coach, father, husband, and mentor. It's our pleasure to introduce Sergio Wilcher, Senior. Sergio, thanks for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate the time.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
First off, getting to the county final. I know you're from Plainfield. I think you went to Plainfield High. Are you a Plainfield loyalist? I know the boys went to Rosal Catholic. So,
Yeah.
so did you get some pushback when you went to RC? Because they're saying, hey, I know there's a big
Oh, absolutely.
there's a big thing in Plainfield, private school. So,
Absolutely. But to me, it's I don't take the same approach as other people take. You know what I mean?
yeah.
It's
Well,
always
I
what's
mean,
best for each individual kid, each individual athlete.
yeah. Well, I mean, listen, it's good basketball when Plainfield's better, when Elizabeth's better, the county's better. So it
Right.
definitely raised the level of opportunity. But I think the first time I saw you, I was at a Russell Catholic game with my wife, and they're doing the intro, and I was sitting where like the alumni section is, and then you started just doing your thing out there. And my wife's this is before I did the podcast. My wife's like, "You got to get that guy on the show." And then, sure enough, Jerry, I'll fill you in a little secret. We talk on the silent. So I went to the Nebraska Rutgers game, and Sergio was taking on the Rutgers student section. So you're worth the price of admission going in. So, although everything calmed down during the end, but it was you get into it, so you definitely get into it. But conversely, your boys are kind of controlled, on the court. I know how they are off the
Mhm.
court, but you definitely get into the game.
Definitely. I'm the same guy. I'm that same way when we're in the gym working out by ourselves. So the energy is always the same, and they are that way. They're controlled, they're comfortable, they're confident in what they're doing. It's just I just support and love my kids out loud.
Just talk a little about yourself. I guess you grew up in Plainfield. I guess you went to Plainfield High School. You played in a couple of schools, and then just talk about your experience growing up, and your introduction to the game of basketball.
Well, I was the late bloomer to basketball. Like I never played youth basketball. I probably didn't play organized basketball until I was to eighth grade in middle school, and at that time I was in Rawway.
Okay.
We moved to Plainfield my freshman year,
Okay.
and but I played my freshman year in Rawway for I played ninth grade. I played in Rawway. Played JV in dress practice varsity. Played JV.
What
And
year was what year was that? That was
shoot, telling on myself, 1984, my freshman year in high school.
1984. So, but yeah, but they had a good run. They made it to the states. So Stanford Smith.
Oh, Stan the man
I'll
was
throw
there
some
at the
names out
time.
there. So I mean, I remember they played it because Elizabeth played in Brendan Byrne Arena. So I
Hmm.
remember Rawway also played too. I don't know if they won the game or not, but Stanford Smith was the guy.
Stan was the man,
Yeah.
literally. Then I came to Plainfield. I played in Plainfield my sophomore and junior year.
Okay.
Um, my senior year, I had my parents. I graduated high school in Portland, Oregon, actually.
Oh, geez, boy.
Yeah, so it was things were difficult at times. I had lost a friend that played with in high school. George Brown, Gigi Brown. Um, Outside of that, other things that were going on in town, my mom just felt safe to send me to Portland. It was shocking at first, but afterwards, I thought it was the best thing that ever happened to me. To go over there play in the city league, huge town, Portland's big basketball town. I had no idea when I got there.
Yeah.
And you look at the history of guys that were playing and the guys that played there before and even after. My senior year in high school, I was at Franklin High School, and Grant High School had Terrell Brandon, who went on to play for a long time in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Um, Stoudemire's older brother was in the cabinet, played at Catholic high school out there at that time. So it was really shocking. Then you realize, once you go all the way across the country, that people still play real basketball over there. And it was something that I realized at a young age that, basketball is basketball.
Yeah. And then, did you have family out there, or how'd you end up in
Yes.
Florida? Okay, all
Yes,
right.
my uncle and my aunt live out there. I have cousins out there to this day. They still live in the city of Portland. My
Oh,
uncle
no
was the
kidding.
educator at the school that I attended, and it was a great opportunity for me.
Yeah. So I'll turn it over to Jerry. Jerry, you want to jump in here? I kind of gave
Hey,
the intro
Sergio,
on
listen,
Sergio.
thanks for joining the program. Jimmy's been dying to wear this little hoodie that he has on. He's been hitting the treadmill 3 times a week, to
Yeah.
look
That's
better
right,
in there.
baby.
Yeah.
That's
Again,
right.
great atmosphere yesterday, right at the Garden.
It's amazing.
7 points. Simeon had 7 points. Again, can you just clue us in how electrifying was the atmosphere there?
No, being that this is the second game in the Garden that since we've been there against UConn is quite different from last year. They packed the house last year,
Yeah.
kind of like embarrassingly so. And but I like to see them, up in the cheap seats this year. I
Yeah.
think there's no other elixir for winning. Nothing beats winning. You change his attitude, change his approach, change his appearances, and it's just great for my kids to be a part of that.
Well, I'll tell you, as a
Absolutely. I
bad,
mean, I think yesterday you see St. John. I mean, as another indicator, St. John's basketball is back, baby. I mean,
And,
Coach Pitino has done a great job in a short amount of time.
yeah.
This is what it was like. Again, I grew up in the 80s, so remember
Yeah.
82, 83, 84, 85. Those the golden years of the Big East in its infancy on 2 channels. They had their own channel, then they went on ESPN, and just those battles when you just watch. I was in the Garden a couple of weeks ago, and I said, my son is playing against Georgetown in the Garden for St. John's. Like to some people, younger people, they may not seem like
Right.
much, but
Yeah.
to somebody that grew up in this era, in this area at that
Yeah.
time, it's just amazing.
Well, Jerry's he's a Georgetown fan, so that makes him happy that you mentioned Georgetown.
We're coming slowly but surely coming back.
Yeah.
Slowly.
Hey,
Very slowly.
I love what Coach Cooley is doing down there. He's a great guy, great coach.
Yeah.
What I mean, I like watching him play. And of course, basketball is big in Plainfield. A guy I went to high school with, his son Caleb Williams is down there playing right now.
Yeah.
So it's just a testament to what's going on. It's kind of like throwback basketball. This is what basketball was about when I was young. Anybody could beat anybody.
Yeah.
You can line up at any
Absolutely.
given day, you could
Yeah.
get punched in the mouth. And it wasn't a big deal. People are
Yeah.
such front runners like now, like, oh, they lost, like it's a video
Right.
game. Life is not a
Yeah.
video game.
Right.
Yeah.
What I
Yeah.
mean? Each basketball game becomes a entity, a life of itself in its own. So,
Yeah.
I may lose to beat Villanova yesterday, then they'll turn around and beat a team that's maybe ranked higher than us. And that's just not a big deal. That's just basketball.
Yeah.
And like you referenced, I mean, you got to be an old timer. I mean, I remember it well. I know Jimmy remembers it well. The Big East was ahead of its time back then. They had their own network. That was unheard of back then.
Absolutely.
Unheard of.
Absolutely.
And it was great basketball to watch.
Yeah.
It was must see.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't top heavy. I mean, you had to worry about Pittsburgh. You
Yeah.
had to worry about Providence. You had to deal with Syracuse, and then the monsters, Georgetown,
Yeah.
and Seton Hall. These people don't forget. Seton Hall national championship game, 30 seconds away from beating Michigan.
Yeah.
Who would have thought that? Nowadays, you get some people that don't even know that happened.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. But just talking about the boys a little bit, I know CJ. I guess he finished up at Nebraska, ended up at Texas A&M when we set this interview up. I'm a big Buzz Williams fan, but like, how does that process go now? I mean, it's just kind of, we talk about the glory days of the Big East. You were there for 4 years, like, and nobody really transferred. But like, how does that process go for for a dad and your son finding the right place for him? And listen, I'm a big Buzz Williams fan, and like I follow him on Instagram. I mean, he coaches the whole person.
Yeah,
You
he's exactly as advertised. And ironically, once CJ decided to go into the portal, they were the first school to call. So we went in the portal, right? It was official. Let's say if it was a Wednesday at 6 a.m., 6
yeah,
p.m., Thursday morning, bright and early, I'm on the phone. They're on my phone.
yeah,
And, I was always a fan of Buzz from when he was at Marquette and even when he was at Virginia Tech. So, the conversation came easy.
yeah.
Decisions didn't always come easy, but that conversation was very easy.
Yeah. Well, he did a lot. I mean, I have a lot of respect for him because I think he started coaching junior college. He's a big proponent of junior college, and he's also developed some pros too when he was at Marquette. He got the job, I guess, uh, by proxy when I forget who was there, but he ended up going to Indiana. His name escapes
Hmm.
me, but he's done well, and like I said, he coaches the whole person. So
I mean, in all actuality, the story of CJ's recruitment to A&M is kind of like unreal. I mean, to the point where, like I said, so the night before we go into the portal, I was talking to his trainer and I told him, I said, look, man, we're gonna put CJ in the portal. And he said, well, man, he need to go somewhere like, because Nebraska played A&M. He said, man, you need to go to A&M.
yeah,
Somewhere like that, where somebody can utilize the skill set. And I said, it sounds good. And I love Buzz. And then they called the next morning. So
yeah,
it was crazy. So when he comes to visit, they call me. This was Wednesday, no, Thursday. He said, we're going to fly out and come visit you in New
yeah,
Jersey on Friday. They called me Friday, said they're having problem with the plane and they had to land in Omaha. He said, well, how far is Omaha? They called me and said, how far is Omaha from Nebraska? I said, 50 minutes. It's an hour.
yeah,
So instead of coming to see me, they end up, the plane's getting fixed. They get in the car and end up spending a couple hours with CJ, which to me was, extremely more important than talking to me, because, he had to make the decision of what he wanted to do. And as you can see, it went very well.
yeah, absolutely. So I mean, and they're ranked, so it'll be exciting to see come March. How they do. So I'll pass it back to Jerry.
What do you do for the tournament now? Do you go strictly with the Johnnies, or you have to do
Yeah,
a quick switch here and there?
I was actually just telling my wife I was looking at the SEC and the Big East tournament. One lasts one day for longer than the other, and I'm like, well, maybe I'll do a vlog, babe. I'll just leave one game, get on the plane, go to Newark, fly down to Knoxville, go catch a game that night. Don't need a hotel room. Fly
yeah,
back. We're gonna figure that out. But those are great problems to have.
Absolutely.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
As a parent, you got to be beaming with pride. Absolutely.
Yeah, and that,
Absolutely. It's just to me, there's a lot of things that are about experiences, and life is about experiences. And if you can, these are things that they can never go away. They can never take away from you. You may forget, who won the national championship, but you won't forget playing deep into the NCAA tournament.
no,
Something that we watched together as a family before they even started playing basketball.
yeah, yeah,
Now,
and then
just switching gears real
right,
quick, Sergio. What would you say was the best part of the AAU travel experience for both of your boys as far as their development?
The fact that we went into it knowing nothing, right?
really,
And you walk into it. We walked into that green. You know what I mean? Like I didn't even know at the time that kids played basketball all year round. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So I was at the time, I was coaching another guy from around here that ended up being a high major guy, Temple Gibbs, TJ
sure,
Gibbs, that ended up in Notre Dame. I'm coaching him at Pop Warner football. I'm holding CJ in my arms. And his dad comes to me, he says, Serge, we're not gonna be around this weekend. I said, okay. He said, Temp has the AAU tournament. I'm like, wow, it's October.
yeah,
Right.
You know what I mean? They play all year. And to go
Right.
from me learning that while holding the guy that ushered my family through this AAU thing was incredible. But the development part of AAU, I think, was a lot of it was more mental than physical. You have to, I think, as a parent, you have to utilize it for exactly what it is, and don't look for more out of it than what it's supposed to give you. So it's not a place. To me, it's a place for a certain type of development. To me, development takes place every day. And your work ethic and what you do in the gym and type of person you are. They provide you the platform in order to show what you do every day. I mean, because you can't really have AAU practice every day. My kids play for teams in New York. We couldn't drive to Albany
Right.
or
Yeah.
drive to every day. So
Right.
therefore, the development has to take place outside of that, and utilize those relationships with AAU teams for what it's worth, for what it is, for platform based. They're not there to develop your kid.
Right. Very well
Well,
put. Very well put. Because again, I think we're reaching an era where, unfortunately, younger players, everything needs to be scheduled. I think we're kind of gotten away from, hitting the local playground, calling winners, you know, going to other playgrounds, testing your skills. And now
Right.
it's like everything has to be structured. And unfortunately, when that's not structured, because it can't always be structured logistically or whatever, the
I
player
mean,
needs to really to go above, out of the comfort zone.
if you just look at the status of high school basketball right now, I mean, it is a result of that. You have kids that, and it's crazy to say that, you're over officiated. You have no, it's just everything's under a whistle. There's no, you play 500 games in the summer. There's no wins or losses. Who cares if you win? If I got three more games, I got another game at 3 o'clock.
yeah.
Um, if you look at college basketball right now, people talking about, the transfer portal. I mean, and then NIL. The transfer portal was effective long before NIL.
Yeah.
And what happened is kids are becoming underdeveloped because they're playing more games. Never in the history of man have children played more basketball than they play right now. But
Yeah.
yet still, they're not ready to go to colleges. You have colleges, by the time they're seniors, they're not recruiting them. You know what I mean? And as parents that I speak to, I mean, I can't say it anymore. I've been yelling this for years. I have to get, as abrupt as possible. They don't want your kid right now in high school, so you have time to develop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they don't want to hear it because, they're still looking at what recruitment was 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. You guys on social media, you don't see all these kids up here with the blessed to receive the offer from
Yeah.
Arizona State, and then he got one from Purdue, and that you don't see that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because it's become exactly what it is. Older guys play better basketball makes better TV. You know what I mean? And this is where we live in. And the end result is, now that you're attaching, you know, professionalism to it, let's no longer amateurism, it's
Right.
professionalism to it.
Yeah.
You know, it is what it is.
Exactly what it is. Right.
Yeah.
This is what it is. You
Yeah.
get a contract. You have things you have to do, things you have to be responsible for in order to keep that or go on with that. You have codes of conduct. You know what I mean? It's professional sports.
Well, even Patino this week said he's got 3 scholarships. He's not going after high school kids. He's going after kids that are already played or that
See,
are playing.
but again, now that was scheduled intentionally. Look at the freshman that said last year he brought on. I mean, for this season, how many freshmen did he bring on? Prey, Lefty, Glover. What was it 3, 4? You're not going to see 5 freshmen at high major classes that are going to impact the game right away anymore going forward. Not for teams that are just looking to do exactly what they just want to win basketball games.
Yeah. And I think Jay Wright said it best in the NCAA tournament. Kentucky got beat. He goes, the area of the one and done is over when Oakland beat them because Oakland had, like, I don't know, some 24-year-old kids shooting bombs. I mean, the one and done is over. So, I
I
mean, it's
mean,
just,
Jay Wright was on the prefaces of the older kid the whole time. If you look at every one of his kids, then almost every one of those kids, except for a couple in between that are pros, redshirted.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Josh Hart, 5-year guy.
Yeah.
yeah,
Brunson, 5-year guy. Bridges, 4-year guy, because he
yeah,
was a redshirt junior. So you
Right.
know what I mean? So and why did he have to do that? because he wanted you to learn and play basketball the way that fit him. Play off 2 feet, you know what I mean? Be able to shoot the basketball, you know, be able to play the basketball, you know, play defense the way they wanted to play defense. And you had to break guys down from the lack of development that they received coming up.
And his recipe worked. I mean, he went out. He didn't go after the 5-star. He went out to the 3 or 4 and developed them, and had them there for 4 years. And,
Well,
he was.
because you had to, because you know now everyone's looking at every kid that plays basketball in high school thinks he's Division I high major kid, and then every Division I high major kid thinks he's a pro.
Yeah,
So then, why would I stay? I'm just go take my shot at the league, and how many guys missed the boat on that. Whereas now, it's gonna be like, what am I do that for? You
yeah,
have guys in college making 4 times the amount of what a G League player makes.
yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, you got a lot of people. That's the other thing. That would make like a good ESPN 30 for 30. How many guys left college early and just didn't? The names are endless. How their pro career, and now, like you said, now there's no reason whatsoever to do that. There really isn't.
There's none. And
There's
the knock used to be was, you got to get them young. You guys are old. Don't want to be too old. Well, shoot. How old is Josh Hart? How old is Dante DiVincenzo?
yeah,
How old are those guys with 3-4 year guys? And then if you look at even throughout the history of sports, one and done didn't just start with Kobe or not going to college or with this recent era. People were doing that in the 70s. Moses Malone.
Yeah.
But you
Yeah.
still had opportunity. But Vince Carter went to college for 3 years. Michael Jordan went to college for 3 years.
Yeah.
Rasheed Wallace went to college for 3 years. Grant Hill went to college for 4 years. You know what I mean? Why? Why is that? You know what I mean? Because there's a level of growth and development, and I think a respect for the game that you have to have. There's a certain thing about being coached. You know what I mean? Or being in situations that are uncomfortable that can cause growth. And I'm no rocket scientist. To you guys' point, I grew up outside with the rinsed out milk jug of water. I didn't know what Gatorade was, and I'm gonna go sit at the park and wait
Right.
for next. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And then I had to win, because if not, I might as well have went home. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So therefore, it was a different approach to it. Now, you just want to say we don't want to take the road. People don't want to take the road less traveled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many kids now would they even know if you said to a high school kid now calling winners, they wouldn't even understand that. Well, what do you mean you go to the playground, you call winners? And
when they'll say winners or make it, take it. You know, I don't know what you're talking about. You might as well be, just speaking Aramaic out here.
Yeah. And then on a hot day, you were looking for the nearest garden hose. There was no Gatorade.
Right. Then now they say it's unsafe to drink out the garden hose. Man, I've been it for years.
Builds character.
I told my kids, I said, man, I don't remember where, there was no Gatorades. My mom didn't come and bring me sandwiches and none of that to the park. I didn't get dropped off. You know what I mean? Like, it was that was all part of the growth of this whole thing, which made it completely different.
You got to be home. You got to be home when the street lights came on. That's it.
Oh yeah, you hear that buzzing? You was on the porch.
Yeah. So, but just talk about Simeon. Go ahead, Jerry.
Go ahead, Jimmy. Go ahead. That's all right.
Simeon, I know he signed initially with North Carolina, and then Elliott could do. I guess he ended up reclassifying it. Was that kind of a hard decision for him? Like, listen, you want to go there and play, and then was that kind of hard? And how did St. John's kind of get to the mix? Patino, that was his first recruiting class. So.
Well, remember, if you remember, Simeon committed to North Carolina. There was no one in the class. It was September of his junior year, and I went on the road and went to recruit Jackson and Martaz Bacelas and all that, because we were there so early. Elliott, Elliott from Jersey. So Elliott Simeon with the middle school. I know exactly who and what Elliott is. And to me, when you start, and I spoke to, first of all, I love Hubert Davis, love the atmosphere and the history of North Carolina. You know what I mean? But now you have to, when you start talking about basketball, and there's only so many things you can do. There's only one basketball. And then there's only so many things that people can do. And some people can do more, some do less, some better at some better than others. I'm looking at it from a sense of where does this fit and how did this best fit Simeon Wilcher? You know what I mean? Playing with Elliot Cadeau would not have been a problem. You know what I mean? I played with, played against, and I tell people all the time, in that 4-year run, we won everything there was to win.
Yep.
So, and we played everybody in the state and most people out. So it was never a question of, oh, he don't want to go play with Elliot or he's not. No, it was the thing for what I felt my kid needs to get to where he needs to go, where he wants to go next. It is best behoove me to make sure this decision is best for Simeon and not necessarily North Carolina. Don't do it just because it's North Carolina. I've watched athletes and kids that my kid that I know and even like for example, I say one of my favorite players and one of my kids' favorite players on the planet also went to Roselle Catholic, Isaiah Briscoe. I believe his life would be different if he went to St. John's instead of Kentucky. Because why? Because he would have been able to do what's best for Isaiah.
Yeah.
I mean, best for his game and his skill set. You know what I mean? He has a great career and doing amazing things right now. But, if you don't sit and watch things that happen ahead of you, you know what I mean? You're going to walk right into the same, would you say, not same mistake or whatever, but the same situations. It just wasn't important enough to me. I mean, as much as I love the history of North Carolina, I can name, Jimmy Black, Michael Jordan, and all the list
Yeah.
of those guys go on and on. And because I could do that because we actually watched basketball back then.
Yeah.
And so, so I mean, was it more important to be a part of that or to put Simeon in the best situation possible?
Yeah. And I
And
think
it's not like
that
we went to an easy situation.
yeah.
You go to a situation where they already had their roster stacked. I know exactly what they had. And I know exactly who Rick Pitino was. I watched him coach at BU. I watched that Providence team with Sheen and those guys that go. I watched it. So I knew what we were getting into in reference to that as well.
What was your first impression of Coach Pitino in regards to when you spoke to him about your son?
As advertised. This
As
is exactly what I
Mm,
expected. I mean, it is exactly who I watch. Is exactly who, when I speak to his former players, I get exactly what it is. Is it, he is who he is, and he's unapologetically himself and honest, and that's very important.
Still one of the greatest books I read. He wrote a book about his first year when he coached the Knicks. It was actually written by the student manager from Providence. One of the greatest books I ever written. Talked about how he got Patrick Ewing to buy into pressing in the NBA. It was actually one of my favorite
mm,
chapters. But that's great to hear. You hear these
yeah.
like you see these public personas of these legends, if you will, and it's always nice, to talk to you to get, you're basically humanizing him, saying, "Hey, listen, he is who he is. He makes no apologies
Mm.
for it. You know, this is black, this is white, and let's go."
It's old school, and it's exactly what when Sim and I when we came into once we decided to have that conversation with Coach Davis and UNC, and it was really one of my prouder moments listening to Simeon speak and tell Coach exactly what his feeling was, and that and I think that is necessary to bring growth. But I told Sim, I said, listen, man, I said he said, with that, how is he gonna mess? How he's gonna like me or whatever? I said, bro, first of all, it's not about liking you. I said I was raised by people, his generation of people, his era of people. That's your grandmother, like old school. Look me in the face when you speak to me, put a handle on or Mr. or Mrs. when you say my name. No, you know what I mean. All of those things that developed and built character at the time. I said, you're prepared for that. Why? Because you was raised by me and I'm a nut and I was raised by your grandmother. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
So and I mean that and once, he got into the room and speaking to him and then he hears us use the same verbiage a lot. And he said, yeah, I get what you're talking about that. It didn't take long. It didn't take long.
Yeah, well, I'm glad he went to St. John's because I mean, it's just as a basketball fan, especially in this area, it's just great to see. And
Come
it's
on.
great to see him, a local player. It's like almost like you when you're following these kids or your son. It's just like it's great to see them succeed at the next level and say, and it just something with basketball. It's like I remember him when it's nostalgic. So it's
Right.
great to see him, and it's great to see St. John's where they are. I think it's good for the Big East. So
I think it's just great for basketball. It's good for New York City. I
yeah,
mean, like, again, it's you go, you ride around, and now you see St. John's billboards on the buses. You on the
yeah.
train. It's the buzz in town. You just in the city, and then you see people just walking around with St. John's starter jackets. That really took me back to our
Oh yeah.
days. Because, you know what I mean? So you see that, and just, young, old, ladies, male, female. It's just a good place to be.
It's funny you mentioned that because we had on Willie Glass a few days ago, and
My
I
guy,
and I told
Electric
Yeah.
Willie, I said,
City.
Willie, how I knew St. John's was back was seeing my man, New York Giant legend Carl Banks in the St. John's starter jacket, courtside.
Yeah.
That blue one too. I need that blue one, the patino blue.
Well,
I need that.
Willie said he had a white one, so I said he's got to try to dust it off. He's recovering from surgery, but he'll be at the game. So
So Willie, that white one is a classic.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
These guys into the retro stuff. Somebody pay a lot of money for
yeah.
that.
absolutely.
Well, I think Carl Banks is a star. I see he's got some
Yes.
affiliation with
Yeah,
Star. I
he's
think.
Yeah,
involved with the
he's the
company.
guy.
Yeah,
He's the
Yeah.
guy over at Star.
yeah,
And the world is small. When his sons coached CJ in AAU in middle school. So like
Yeah.
I mean, this it's
Yeah.
good to be home and good you have those attachments, that connective tissue.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Carl was a huge when Carl played for the Giants. That's how it started. He got really immersed into St. John's basketball, and now he's that was one of the things they wanted them back, and it's great to see the Garden. And I think one thing that really struck a chord with me about Coach Pitino is when he took the job, and I never really thought about this. He said St. John's is a very unique job. He said it's an urban university where our fan base is a lot of working blue collar people, and it never really clicked. Like he said the MTA bus driver, he didn't go to St. John's, but because of the geography, he's just a St. John's fan.
Hmm.
And you really can't say that about, too many programs. Most like and I would venture to say there is just a lot of people that are St. John's fans that, never went to the school. It's just the way it was. It's New York City. It goes back to lap check. It goes back a long time.
Right.
I mean, Vaccaro, Mike Vaccaro, the Post just did a thing. All the before Sunday's Post, all the top St. John's games, over the years. I mean, to see the names. I mean, Mike Jarvis, Louis, of course, Walter Berry, Mullen. It's just, it's great to see. Like you said, it's great for New York. It's great for the Big East, but like you said, it's really great for basketball in general.
I like it, New York City, and it's the way it is with sports. It's the biggest little city ever when it comes to sports, because then it just takes off, and they just love, and they love hard. And I told Simeon that, I said, if you do it here, you make it here, they never forget you, no matter what happens. You know what I mean? That long term memory is a real thing. I said, look, man, we didn't have the greatest year when Shamari Pons was here, but you say Shamari Pons in New York City, they know exactly who he is, where he went to high school, and what he did to Duke that day. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah,
That run they went on, and that's some places where that as big of a city as this may not age well. You know what I
right.
mean? But it has here, and it's great for Simeon to be a part of it.
Well,
Absolutely.
we had Billy Martin and Jerry had Gene Smith on, and we had Willie Glass, and they all said the same thing. It's a brother. They all went to the movies together. They all ate together. It was, and they're still hanging out. And even like the coaches, John Thompson, Louis Cornseca, there's an admiration to him, almost like a surrogate
Right,
father for him. So it's
right,
just and then it was like almost they were more than just a coach. They were a mentor as well.
right, right. And again, the world was a different place. You had a lot less things to distract you from, you know, being a good teammate on and
Yeah.
off. Now you get people, again, the way the world is, look what we're doing right now. This didn't exist.
Yeah.
So now
Right.
you have people that are, just get involved with, they're online, and then they're working on these other things, and they allow the NIL opportunities to overwhelm certain situations. I just think that this time is so fleeting that I impress upon both my boys to just enjoy it. Of yes, we take it serious, and this is something we've spent their entire lives doing, but you need to enjoy it, because you never know when you're going to take that last meaningful rep. So, and what is that going to be like if you don't enjoy it long
Yeah,
term? You don't want to live with those type of regrets.
Absolutely.
absolutely, absolutely. But just yourself, I know you're watching the boys, and you got a daughter at home. You have 5 kids, and they keep you busy. Are you still involved in AAU? I know you kind of coached a little bit. Are you still doing the AAU circuit, or you kind of
Yeah,
gave it up?
well, what I've like to transition to, like the last time I coached AAU was 2 years ago. Coach 15s with City Rocks, and yes, we went to the championship of Peach Jam for 15s. And what I've realized is you can. I'm still affiliated with certain programs, but I'd like to affiliate myself with athletes and parents to mentor and help them get through certain situations and let them understand certain things. Give them insight and information that I didn't have. And sometimes if you're attached to one program exclusively, that limits your scope and availability by, some people will say, all right, well, you just wanted to play for, let's say, the Renaissance or New Heights. And no, that's not it. I honestly will speak to every athletic director, coach, or AAU person in reference to a child that's specifically for that child. I'll get nothing in return. You know what I mean? There's no quid pro quo. It's just a matter of being able to provide a service that I didn't have. And I believe that my children were blessed, so I owe the opportunity to help these parents. I mean, most of the time you're just helping them understand it, so you don't beat yourself up
Yeah, yeah,
over
yeah.
Right.
something that you have no control over. You know what I mean? Or you thinking that, oh, my kid is, no, you, first of all, you got to let it marinate. You got to work. And then all that will come into play. One of the best things I've ever, is just things that I've been able to tell my kids, and I told them, like, CJ, if we do X, Y, Z in this, you can get that. You can get a Division I scholarship, play basketball. But you have to do these things. You have to overcome whatever challenges that you have, whether it be physically, height, skill set wise, and do that. And I think that a lot of times we get away from that because now training has become cookie cutter. So everybody's doing the same thing, or just going through cones and not working on your individual skill set or have vision of where they see yourself impacting the game. But I just, I like to preface all conversations with, first, I love basketball.
Yeah.
And
Right.
but I'm more of a advocate. I'm an advocate for children and parents in reference to helping them navigate where they should participate, and I'm willing to have those hard conversations that some parents are afraid to have. You know,
Well, I mean, you lived a life, so I mean, you had your struggles, you lived a life, and you came through it. So they said that, I heard it somewhere. Somebody, any strong person had to go through some struggles somewhere in their
right?
life.
That's it.
So, but
And we're still doing so right now.
yeah, so
Absolutely.
yeah, exactly. You're either coming from something or going towards something. So it's just
That's
like
it.
it never ends. But I don't want to take any more of your time, sir. This has been great. So if somebody's
Awesome.
just and I usually leave off with Jerry on the episodes, but if somebody's watching this episode and wants to reach out to you, are you okay with what would be
Oh,
the best way to
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I take all DMs on my Instagram. Fix your damn face. You
yeah.
can you can give it out. That's on Twitter and
And
IG.
where'd that come from? Fix your damn face. Where'd that come from? Is
Again, I told you, my mother. I was raised by a woman that said, "Boy, you had to act and move a certain way." So,
it
regardless of what you're going through, if she just corrected me in public, I'm not supposed to walk around pouting and crying. Boy, if you don't fix your damn face, you know what I mean?
I like
So,
that.
it stuck with me, and you know,
works?
I'm here for all parents.
Yeah. Well, listen, sir, I can't thank you enough. This episode was produced by Dave Sergio. Sorry for the coughing. I'm just, there's a bug going around trying to fend it off. But
And
I'll pass it on to
that's
Jerry.
what makes it live. That's what makes live TV the best, or
Yeah,
recorded live TV.
That's
Let's
it.
be
yeah.
real.
But I'll pass it along to Jerry. But thanks, sir. I know we tried to do it last year. Just I was going through some. I was solo, so I brought Jerry on. So we restructured the show. But I'll bring Jerry can finish it off. But I really appreciate the time. Thanks for
no problem.
And what do you think about Plainfield? You think they're gonna? You think I mean that baby Shaq he's something else.
And isn't it beautiful to see a big that wants to be a big?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Isn't it beautiful to see somebody that say, all right, I
Yeah.
can dominate this and I don't have to be Jokic and shoot threes. And no, it's just it's fun to watch. And I tell people all the time, sports is so cyclical that, if you stay the course, you're going to run across opportunities like these. And they're going to take full advantage of it. I think it's theirs to lose. I'm happy for those guys, for those kids to experience winning. There's a lot of times when you don't experience what it feels like to win. You know what I mean? As a group, you know what I mean? You could win individually. I could be the best at this, but to win with a group of guys, they're not even to the point where they will never forget this. They, you know what I mean? 40 years from now, they'll be in the barbershop talking about when they were 15 and 16 years old. And I just want them to enjoy it, and God bless them.
Yeah, well, listen, the coach's son is nice too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean he's nice. His brother played for Seton Hall. I know that. So I mean, Mike Gordon.
Yes,
so,
sir.
His son's nice. So, but anyway,
Absolute stud.
I'll pass it on to
Sergio,
Jerry.
listen, Sergio, thanks again for joining us. Like Jimmy said, we were going heavy. We had a lot of retired New York Giants. We transitioned to basketball. We had Bobby Martin,
Yes,
University of Pitt legend. We had Billy Martin, Georgetown, Gene Smith, Georgetown, Willie Glass, from your son's Johnny's, and now we have you. And I tell you, it was a pleasure to have you. You gave us a multitude of multiple perspectives, I should say. You have two boys playing at the highest levels, and then you're still looking to help parents out because it is a choppy process, as they say. And
Absolutely.
it was a joy to have you. You really opened our eyes to a few things, and it was nice to for you to share your perspective. And what I always say, being from New Jersey, is come tournament time, there's something special because there's always Jersey, as we know, there's always Jersey kids making an impact in the tournament. And I think what's going to be special this year is we're going to see a Jersey guy really be impactful with a local college team, which makes it even more special. So, and listen, as a Georgetown guy, I'm rooting for the Johnnies, so I can't believe I'm going to say that. But again, thanks for joining us. We'll definitely be in touch.
I appreciate it. Thank you guys.
All the best to you and your wife.
He doesn't
Enjoy
throw
the
comments
tournament
around too much, Sergio. So just he's a tough. He doesn't throw the compliments around. So
I appreciate it. I appreciate it all. It's just I appreciate being named, being part of that list of those guys that you just named that was on there before me. It's amazing, and that you think that much of our situation and what my family's going through. And we'll gladly do it again. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank you. All the best to you and your wife. Enjoy it.
Represent, baby.
Catholic stars.
That's it.
Hopefully,
they have to leave New Jersey
anymore. So hopefully they. All right, Jerry.
All right, good stuff.
All right, Sergio. Thanks, man. All right. Be well.
Take care now.
All right.